Hi, everybody. It's Dennis Daly, welcoming you to All Week Theater. Every week I take a classic old-time radio episode, cut it up into 5 pieces, and present it for your convenient listening pleasure. This week, we go back to old-time radio to a weekly show called BOSTON Blackie. BOSTON Blackie had appeared in a series of movies with Chester Morris, and Morris did 13 episodes of BOSTON Blackie on radio. But the show was syndicated in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and as BOSTON Blackie, the actor chosen was Richard Colmer. You may not know this, but he was Dorothy Kilgallen's husband. And this, I think, is the best BOSTON Blackie show of all. Boston was always on the edge of being in trouble, but in this show he gets arrested and sent to prison and nearly killed. So here is part 1 now of BOSTON Blackie.
All right, Inspector Faraday, you got a reporter from every paper in town in your office. Now start talking.
Yeah, Faraday, what's the big news?
My editor says I'm supposed to pick up the hottest story in years. What gives?
This is your moment of glory, Faraday. Better stretch it out.
Shut up, Blackie.
I'd sure like to know it.
All right, you guys. Quiet down. Quiet! You've been giving it to me long enough. Now I'll give it to you.
What do you mean we've been giving it to you?
You know what I mean. Every time I pick up a paper, I read how Boston Blackie has outsmarted me on every case. You've made me sound like a flatfoot with a flat head.
Well, we just report facts, Inspector.
That'll be enough of that. Now listen, and get this.
Did you get what he just said to you, Faraday?
Quiet, Blackie. You can have your say when I'm through with mine. All right, you guys. Here's your story.
You better be good, Faraday.
Oh, we'll forget how to spell your name.
Oh, you'll spell my name right this time, and put it in capital letters, too. I've recovered that $100,000 worth of diamonds stolen from Gotham's.
Is this on the level, Faraday?
Yes, I recovered them last night. And what's more, I got the guy who stole them, too.
Hey, this is all right, Faraday, if it's true.
It's true, all right. Here are the diamonds wrapped in this cloth on my desk. Take a look at them.
Hey, the diamonds are terrific. I'd like to get a look at the guy who stole them.
Would you? Well, here's the real story on this case. I've got the guy right here. Boston Blackie.
What? I don't believe it.
Ah, this is a gag. You've never pinned anything on Blackie yet.
Yeah, well, I've got something pinned on him this time. I caught him trying to get rid of the rocks. Of course, he tried to duck out on me, but I got him.
Hey, Blackie, what about this?
You'll pull down a stiff sentence if Faraday really has the goods on you, Blackie.
So they tell me.
Well, aren't you worried about it? You've got a defense, haven't you? You got an alibi.
I'll beat this, boys. Haven't missed yet, have I? So far, I've been able to get out of everything but my skin.
That's right, Blackie. But if you don't beat this thing at the trial, the only thing you'll have to get out of is jail in 20 years.
And now, back to Dick Colmer as Boston Blackie. Enemy to those who make him an enemy. Friend to those who have no friend.
Order! Order in the court! Will the defendant please rise?
Good luck, Blackie. I'll keep my fingers crossed.
Thanks, Mary. But it's a little late for that now.
Boston Blackie, the evidence for and against you has been heard by this court. And after due deliberation, you have been found guilty as charged. Have you anything to say before I pass sentence on you?
No, Your Honor, I haven't. At least not anything you'd care to hear.
Very well, then. But before I pass sentence, I want to say this to you. There's no question but that you have done a great deal of good in this community. And there's no one in this court who is not familiar with the able assistance you've given the police of this city. But we cannot let gratitude stand in the way of justice. By the evidence presented in this court, you have been found guilty of a grave crime. Therefore, there remains nothing for this court to do but to punish you to the full limit of the law and sentence you to not less than 10 or more than 20 years in the state penitentiary.
How can you do this, Inspector Faraday? How can you do this to Blackie?
I did the only thing I could, Miss Wesley.
You didn't do anything. You just stood by and let them send Blackie to prison. I thought you were his friend.
I gave him every chance in the world to defend himself, but he didn't. And why? Because he couldn't.
But you could have helped him. You could have tried to prove it was someone else who stole those jewels. I just don't believe that Blackie did it.
I didn't believe it either at first. It was a real shock when the evidence piled up against him. And even when I found him trying to sell the jewels, I still didn't believe it. I begged Blackie to tell me who really stole them, or...
But you know that he didn't steal them. Even if he did, he had a reason. He's always been able to explain everything he's done, and you know that. Why didn't you give him the benefit of the doubt this time?
Because this time it was different, Miss Wesley.
Oh,
Sure. I've always said how anxious I was to send Blackie to jail. But I never really meant it. I was trying to keep him from interfering with the police.
I don't believe it. You're jealous of Blackie. Maybe you even framed him
Miss
so
Wesley,
that...
you have to believe me. Ask Rollins. Ask the commissioner of police. Ask anyone who had anything to do with the case. I gave Blackie every chance in the world to clear himself. But he couldn't. This is one time he slipped up.
So join me next time when we cut up yet another old-time radio show into 5 parts on All Week Theater.